Excuse me. Can I quit this podcast?
I told Eddie Murphy to stay in college so he'd have something to fall back on. I did great advice.
Stand-Up Memories is back. Your favorite
Same opening introduction start every time.
Every time, because
That's the only way I know I'm in the right seat.
people like consistency. I am Peter Bales.
Every
here.
time I look over, your hair is whiter and you're older, and I'm never sure I'm in the right place.
All right. That's very quick for you to be insulting
You
me.
were just telling me how I should incorporate into my stand-up act how old I am. And I don't need to hear that.
I
Are
do
you
that
going to
myself.
introduce our guest, or are you just going to
Well,
blab
maybe
on?
I will. Peter Bales, Jackie the Joke Man, Martling.
I know you. What
and
about him?
Stand-Up Memory. This, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Dunn. And this gentleman, 6 days a week, is on Sirius XM, Channel 33, on First Wave, playing music, right?
And he's
Yes,
going to
sir.
do it until they pay him. I've known Larry Dunn for way, way too long. For you music aficionados, he's named for Duck Dunn, who was famously in Blues Brothers movie, but more famously in Booker T and the MGs. A billion years ago, doing a song called Green Onions that's still very, very popular. And my God, I think that came out on 78 in 1912 or something like that.
And it's fair to say you're an old-time radio guy, and I mean that as a compliment.
Thank
and
you.
you love radio. Radio will always be with us. You are on the satellite radio. You're on the new. Have you ever thought there'd be an old and a new radio?
When I was on, in the very beginning of doing comedy, I was on BAB a real lot, and actually was friends with the guy from WLIR from being working in the studio in the 70s. So I knew them. And Duck Dunn was part of the new wave. He's the old radio guy that I'm older than. And that kind of came over and took over, and WLIR became WDRE. And
Right.
something I've never told anybody, because who would believe it? When I was in 5th or 6th grade, I was home from school, and LIR was like a channel for, old people. It wasn't music. It was just like a community station. And they said, call up and leave and say something into our answering machine. And then if we're going to play back some callers, and if you hear your voice, you call in. And I forget what I had to say. Jeez, I didn't think of it. But I called up, but I said it, instead of saying hello, how are you? I went, hello, how are you? Or something to make it recognizable. And then me and my mother sitting there. And I called up, and I went, and I got a watch that I never wore.
A watch.
Oh, and it was a beautiful watch.
Well, let me
I'm sure they
explain
had it
something
for
to
free.
Larry. What happens here is Jackie and I are going to talk for about 25 minutes. And with 5 minutes to
Ask
go,
him about
we're
him.
going to notice that you're here, and you'll be allowed to talk.
Tie into LIR. Is that a crime?
No, it's not a crime. I'm kidding. Larry Dunn. I can talk about the radio forever. I love it. But let's start with.
Were you like a morning guy, afternoon guy, promotions guy? What were you at?
So I was a morning guy, and my first day on the air was June 1, 1979. So I was on the rock side before we changed the format in August of 82. So I had a progressive rock side to me, and then it evolved, because punk was exploding in the late 70s. But
and that's when it became DRE?
It became DRE after December 17th, 1987, because LIR went off the air. They made a movie on it, too. New Wave Dare to be Different. It was on Showtime for 5 years.
Wow.
Then it became DRE.
And you tried to pretend you didn't know who he was.
No. BAB and LIR, I grew up with that.
Yeah.
Now, your Sirius XM channel 33 is called First Wave. What kind of music do you play now?
Well, it's 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s alternative rock. It could be anything from the Ramones and the Sex Pistols to U2.
What is the connotation of the first wave? Does that mean the first time that played that kind of music. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of groundbreaking for its time because you had the British invasion, right? Then you had the second British invasion, and we called it new wave. We called it new music. I mean, we just said we were the new music station. We never called ourselves a new wave station, but we were playing songs from all over the world, from Germany, France, a lot from England, imports. I was the music director. So we'd have a box of records that
Did
was
people
sent.
ever call up and say, what the hell are they talking about on the song?
Well, sometimes, yeah. But, they voted on the songs, too. Best new song of the week, Screamer of the Week.
Was Fingers there when you were there?
Well, Fingers was at BAB, but Fingers has always been a good friend. So was Bob Buckman. In fact,
okay, for our audience at home,
yeah,
who might not know
on-air personalities.
Who is Fingers?
Fingers did Metal Shop on BAB.
He was not in the mob. That sounds like a mob nickname.
I know. He was the promotion guy, and he was all over the place. And I just remember getting really stoned out of my head a bunch of times with him at a few concerts. That's as well as I knew him. So I apologize if he's in jail or anything like that. Jesus. That happened to me the other day. I saw somebody and an old friend. I said, "Hey, how's so-and-so?" He said, "Oh, he's in jail." And I said, no, how's he? But he was really in jail. I guess if you ask enough people, eventually somebody's in jail.
Gee, Jackie Martling said something inappropriate. What a shocker.
It wasn't inappropriate.
It was.
But I was visiting May Pang. You know May Pang? You ever meet
May Pang? I know that name. What is May Pang?
From the John Lennon.
Oh, yeah.
John Lennon's mistress for a couple of years. She's still, every couple of years, she finds more photographs of her and John, and she's a riot. She's just a great broad. And she has these beautiful pictures of, here's a picture of the signing of the Beatles breaking up, and the last picture of John and Paul. And if you're a Beatles freak, I would bet anything you are. So
yeah, I am too. You'd be surprised.
Very
really
interesting. She was very.
Now we got a genuine radio guy here, Larry Duck Dunn.
What am I? I wasn't a radio guy.
Well, you were a radio guy.
No, but I wasn't. You are a radio guy. You are.
And
a radio
I
guy.
wanted to say something.
Like you could talk during a record right up until they started singing, and what a talent!
And sometimes I didn't because the song started so loud and hard.
But in my mind, radio is a part of everybody's coming of age.
Yeah.
All right. And you were probably a part of a lot of people coming of age listening to you. And I mean that seriously. When you were coming of age, what were you listening to?
Oh, I was listening to The Who, Zeppelin.
Okay.
I was a rocker at heart.
Okay.
How old are you?
Now? Yesterday.
Now.
You're
68.
younger. You're younger than us.
68.
Oh, he's a kid.
He's younger than us.
He's a kid.
Well, everyone was 10 years older than me when I got on LIR. I was the youngest one on the air.
But I hate age. It's so crazy. Wow.
But so you were a 60s rocker. That's the music that did you?
But I went deep though. I mean, I went deep into the rock, like Pavlov's Dog has a new album coming out after 50 years.
Wow.
You believe it?
Who does?
Pavlov's Dog.
I didn't even know him when the bell went off.
It's one of those prog.
Is there anybody
rock
out
bands.
there that understood that?
Yes, I think one person. Now,
it wasn't you.
So you were bringing rock and roll to the masses, and the masses here
from overseas. Yeah. So we did a deal with it was Rough Trade Records in London, where they would ship a box of imports to us every Thursday, Heathrow to JFK. My staff would meet it. I'd listen to it. Dennis McNamara was the program director.
Right.
I'd be the filter. And then I'd say, Dennis, we got to play this. Or maybe not play this.
And were they already established stars, or this was fresh out of the box?
Fresh out of unsigned, non-signed labels.
And some of them went to great heights, and some went into the toilet. And
yeah, no, I mean, a lot. It was like a lot of musical nuggets, right? So if you remember, there was a band no one remembers called Mars, but they did Pump Up the Volume. Remember? Pump Up the Volume.
That was a big song. I've even heard of that one.
I had it on a white label, it wasn't signed. And I put the needle on it. And I just said, we have something here. And we pounded it. And it went to #1 in America. Eventually, the top 40 stations gravitated to it.
So
that's a fun story.
That is a great story. And I was going to ask, FM, I remember FM was new, right? And you guys had more freedom to choose what you were playing as opposed to, you remember WMCA, of course you do, and WABC.
Those playlists were so tight.
They were limited, and they played it over and over again, and you guys had the freedom.
We had no playlist, none. We were hired actually for musical knowledge, because at the time, my voice, I had a dreaded Long Island accent. I had to go for 2 years of speech therapy to clean it up. But we were hired for music knowledge, fun, just being witty on the air. It had nothing to do with
Which is
voice.
great, right?
Yeah.
At the exact 180 degrees.
2
The
years.
cousin Brucey that couldn't do anything except.
2
When
years.
I
That's
started on the
hysterical.
Stern Show in 1983, we were on WNBC AM, and
Right.
that playlist was so tight. I think they played the same 10 songs over and over and over from week to week. Because to this day, I was only on 1 day a week, and to this day, I'll hear a song and go, "That's one of those songs from
Right.
1983," because
Right.
it was just, Toto and Africa and whatever, the same goddamn songs,
But FM was new and exciting. When? Well, starting in the around 70, something like that.
Well,
And
the
you could play
license-
long songs.
Yeah, you can play long form songs. I mean, BAB and LIR's license was in the late 50s. That's when they were
Okay.
granted the FM licenses. They really didn't start to develop until like the mid 60s, as AM was still up here, right?
Yeah.
But FM was that no static, great frequency, stereo.
But it was
Right.
still the new kid on the block.
It was still
for
a new
sure.
kid on the block. Yeah.
There's a famous story about Mark Coppola, Francis Ford
Yeah.
Coppola. He's a longtime DJ. I think he still might be one.
The Cope.
The Cope was doing overnights
Yeah.
at, I don't think it was WLIR yet. Whatever it was, not LIR.
He was
I
on
don't think it was
BAB.
K-Rock
He
yet.
was
It
on
was-
BAB before he got to K-Rock.
all right, but it was,
Yeah.
he must have been, but it was at K-Rock, and he was doing overnights, and he put on Freebird, and he fell asleep, and the record skipped for like an hour or two. There was nobody listening to him or nobody answering the phone, and he was snoring. And it's a famous story. And I guess he woke up and the thing was skipping and oh God! And you never hear that story. I guess he's not proud of that story.
I heard a radio story where a DJ pre-taped a show and didn't tell his wife it was pre-taped and had an affair, and she didn't suspect anything because she thought what she was listening to was live, but he had pre-taped it. And one time she had to come down some sort of an emergency to talk to him at the station, and he wasn't there. They were just playing the.
And that's how you got caught?
This is all about you.
You know what? I never heard that, but that is a great
That's a great
premise
story.
for a TV show or a cable show. Or that's just
It is. I understand.
who was it?
I can't tell you who it was.
You could
Don't
tell.
we could that could work. We could pre-tape a show here and never mind.
You and I both know we're not really here.
Now I love the history of radio. Now 50,000 watts is the
Mhm.
most an AM
The
station.
most
clear channel.
AM or FM, yes. correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now back in the 60s and even before, Mexico didn't regulate that. And
No.
didn't Wolfman Jack have a show just on the border in Mexico, just on the border, blasting who knows how powerful to the entire American Southwest?
Because it
including
wasn't
California.
reined in by the FCC. I
Yeah.
remember hearing that. It was, the sound is so amazing. When I started on Howard, I was on in the afternoons on WNBC, and we're from like 4 to 8. And I was working around the country, and I went down to work in, I guess it was Charlotte, South Carolina, North Carolina, or one of those. But it was at the tip of where the land juts out. So it was like kind of on the ocean. And when they introduced me, I got this monstrous round of applause because they were in a spot where after 3 or 4 o'clock at night, it was as clear as a bell there. Because the airwaves just went right over the ocean, and it was amazing. The throw of those 50,000 watt stations was amazing. You know,
Well, it's funny because the Canadian stations and the Mexican stations, they go to 100,000 watts.
Okay.
And you're right. There's a station in San Diego called 91X. The tower's in Tijuana. The sales
Wow.
staff is in San Diego. So the air staff in those days had to go across the border to broadcast, but then they had 100,000 watts of power going towards LA.
I love it. I love
so
it.
that must have had a hell of a throw. And Canada too, huh?
Yeah. I mean, CFNY in Toronto, that's 100,000 watts of power.
I love it. And that's what everybody was listening to in the movie American Graffiti.
Right.
One of those big stations. Everybody was listening to the same thing. Now, back me up. WABC, when the Beatles first came to this country, They were covering it, of course, and they're outside the Plaza Hotel. I heard they got over a 70% rating.
Yeah.
Is that possible? It's not possible in this day and age.
No, not in, in those days. Yes, I mean ABC was number one,
but
the program
ABC
director
had them. But
yeah,
but Mary the K had them too on 1010, and they were fighting for that. Mary the K finagled his way into their room at the Plaza.
Yeah,
it was just amazing how, they just completely took over everything. It was crazy.
And he called himself the fifth Beatle.
Yeah,
he did.
Everybody was calling that, and I think he kind of said it the loudest. You see him you get so uptight because he's in their hotel room like, hey, right now we got Ringo. Ringo, say hello to our audience. Like, leave him alone, Jesus Christ, Mary.
Larry. What do you like the best about doing radio?
I think. Look, I've done in my career between LIR and Sirius XM over 21,000 radio shows.
Wow.
I've not repeated a single radio show. And I think every show stood on its own. I'm just having fun. You can't fake fun, right? That was the spirit of and radio was never meant talking at people like you just, imitating Wolfman Jack. Yeah, how are you? 85 degrees in New York.
Yeah.
No, it was meant to talk with you and to you. That's what the medium was designed to do.
And FM DJs had more time than the AM guys.
Exactly.
Dan Ingram, Google. This show's made for Googling, young people out there. Dan Ingram had a gift for being funny in 11 seconds.
Yes.
He really, really did. Coming in a songs, out of song. I have the greatest admiration.
When we were on AM, Howard would be going on, and the program director would literally come in pointing to his watch because it had been 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like go to a song. And it was like so strangling,
Well, that's why the songs were 2 minutes and 50 seconds long too, right?
Right.
And Flo and Eddie taught me that if you don't hear it in the first 15 to 20 seconds, the hook, it's not a hit.
Right. And
that was the mentality.
Absolutely right. He passed away,
Yes, sadly,
Flo.
Yeah. Recently.
He was a good friend. Yeah, like a week ago or something.
Google the Turtles. I'm going to keep our audience. Yes, indeed.
They were great.
You know the difference between.
What pisses me off? You can be in your car, and you want to just hear the radio.
Yeah.
And it is impossible. You can have Sirius, but you got to go looking, and you got to choose the station. You can't just turn on the radio and flip. And we've come so far. Like in the 50s, you're on the beach with a little piece of plastic and turn it on, and the transistor radio would blast rock and roll music. And it was so simple. And we've come so far,
I would like to go back to Beach Blanket Bingo and the transistor radio and Annette.
I was just going to say, I want to go back to Annette. I used to kiss her on the TV screen. I swear to you. That was after she had the disease.
So, oh my goodness. My goodness.
She had something wrong.
As a compliment to you, because you were always known as one of the Magnificent Seven, right? The 7 comedians that came out of Long Island. Bob Woods would be on the air with me on Friday morning. And the poor guy would sleep on the floor just because I was on at 6 o'clock in the morning. We paid him like $50, $100 on a Friday. But
Bob Woods, a legendary Long Island comedian who very well might have been homeless.
Yeah.
I was just going to say he was sleeping on the floor so he wouldn't miss the show, but also so he could be inside.
Yes. Yes.
Gifted, the ultimate Ralph Cramden impression.
Funny, fun. Absolutely crazy. Oh God,
But I was going to say the difference between stand-up and radio. I've done some radio. In stand-up, you do a joke, immediate response. On the radio, I would have somebody come up to me a month later and go, "Oh, that bit you did, a month ago was really funny."
You just send it out there, and
Well, I could never do comedy. I could never do what Jackie does because I think you're like naked on a stage and you got people drinking. And like the joke's going to go or it's not going to go. And you got to recover from it too. Do you know the first time I saw Jackie? Off Our Rockers. I was 17. I went into the Neptune pub.
Bales is a famous stand-up comic too, but he actually saw my band in the 70s.
I saw
where in the 70s?
Neptune Pub.
Neptune Pub.
Where North Belmore, because I grew up in North Merrick. So I snuck in. Now the thing is, he's with a partner and they had a hearse. I said, Off Our Rockers on the side. So I go in. Jackie actually had a great singing voice. He would do a song with his partner on guitar.
We got to have this guy back.
And then he would start drinking Heineken. And he would start telling jokes in between songs. And the more Heineken he drank, the funnier he got. It was his laugh that
It
killed
might
him.
have been
Your
something
laugh.
to do with the ones you were drinking, too.
I was 17 underage.
But
those
the,
were
the,
great
the
things.
process for Jackie was he was with his band, but the songs got less and less, and the jokes got more and more.
Right.
And that
You
was
know,
the-
people, the most common compliment or whatever you'd call it, people say, you got to tell me, do you guys play songs to make up for the jokes, or do you tell jokes to make up for the songs? And I just say yes. You know, I didn't know. But that's a long time.
That was a
Those are
long
great
time
days.
ago. We were just driving in the car the other day. I saw him, a very well-known club in Oyster Bay called Rum Runners.
Yes, Rum Runners.
You've heard of
yeah,
Rum
sure.
Runners,
I've
right?
been there. Yeah.
Oh,
I used to
yeah.
spin there. Coming
You know, and when he was in the Off-Hour Rockers, I remember certain things. I remember him and the songs and the jokes, and I remember a rum and coke was $4. That was a long time ago when you could get a mixed drink for $4,
and that was expensive then.
and that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money, and it was you know, I was young and I wanted to meet girls, and I told him he laughed. I told him
The whole town used to be there, and Oyster Bay was infamous for girls that loved to drink and loved to have sex and loved to be naked, and it was the hippie days, and it was an insane
and
asylum.
I wanted to meet a girl, but I would walk up and down the bar, and I was too shy and inept to make the first move. And one time, this girl standing at the bar looked at me and said, "For God's sake, just make up your mind."
And you scored. Go ahead. finish the story.
I needed help like that to go anywhere.
Jesus.
Did you ever do anything at the OBI South in Oak Beach?
No, we did Neptune South as far as we did some stuff in Long Beach, like at the Arizona
Yeah.
and Wellingtons, but we were tiny. We were just two guys and eventually a third guy. But you know, we weren't big enough to work anywhere, and we're too loud for wine and cheese places. So there was only a sliver of places where we could work. But the places we worked, we had a great time, you know.
Yeah.
Larry, can you educate me?
Sure.
I was into the first British invasion,
Okay.
and we have an audience of young people and old people. Can you remind us what the second British invasion was?
So there was a time when the punk scene was starting
Okay.
to explode. So on this side of the Atlantic, you had the Ramones.
Yes.
On that side, you had the Sex Pistols, the Jam, right? Gang of Four. You had all these bands. That was the second wave. That's when you start. So bands like Green Day today,
Yes.
they will point back to like the Jam and Gang of Four and the Clash, and those are the bands that I think became the second British invasion.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a great answer. Now, I heard a
We
joke.
spend so much time. I can't stand it.
I
He's
read-
asking great questions, Peter.
Oh, that's a
yeah.
great question.
I heard something that may have been meant as a joke. It was, I think it was in the Village Voice, a writer wrote, "Do you know what killed punk rock? They learned how to play their instruments."
Well, Sid didn't know
is
how
there-
to play. He was self-taught.
But you know,
Is there any truth to that? I mean,
I think some of the guys played better than others.
They did.
You know, I didn't pay any attention, but you know,
I mean, they matured. I mean, let's take the Ramones, right? You had
Yeah.
4 kids went to Forest Hills High School.
Right.
Do you know on July 4th, 1976, they played London on the 200th anniversary of this country, and they put on a clinic, and it was like a who's who of anybody in the audience. And I always point to that being a pivotal moment of rock and roll, just like Jimi Hendrix. He went to London in 1966. He put on, and they said Clapton, Townsend, actually McCartney and Lennon were all in the audience.
they were all in the front row because they heard about him.
And not only that, the day before, Magical Mystery Tour came out, and he just wailed. He did by ear an instrument. That's how he opened the show, an instrumental version of the Magical Mystery Tour. To
Wow.
which they said Lennon and McCartney looked at each other. What the?
Yeah,
You know, it was
what are
just
we
one of
gonna
those
do?
moments.
You know, it's it. I love that. He because Hendrix did so much over here. He's like in Joey D and the Starlighters.
Yeah.
And he was in all these different bands, but he was just a backup guy, and he wasn't getting anywhere. So he went to England and got discovered, and came back here a huge star. I just love that stuff. You know.
So the invasion went the other way.
okay.
So it didn't just come this way. We went that way too.
Do you see the passion? We should have a whole. We're going to. First of all, we want you back.
Oh, I'll be back.
And we
I
want
live
you.
in Massapequa. Here I am.
Okay, you came all the way from Massapequa. We, by the way, are in Paradise Studios in Massapequa. Anything you need, video, podcasting, any video, come here, Paradise Studios. And we're on a network called Strong Island Television, which is connected to Paradise Studios. And you came, and we're in Massapequa, and you live in Massapequa. But look at his face light up when he's talking about passionately the history of rock and roll.
Of course. Well, like
we got to have this guy back on.
We light up when we're talking about old comedy stories. Of course, he does.
But you know, a lot of comedians are frustrated musicians, and we love music.
Yeah.
And getting a chance to talk to somebody like you is really, really precious.
It's great fun. You say, "Oh, I couldn't do that because you guys stand up there and you have to talk to an audience." But people also look at DJs and say, "You're sitting there with just you and a microphone. What if you can't think of something to say?" But your answer is like, "You just do." That's what I do, and just like what you do what you do.
It's instinct.
Somebody
should make a T-shirt out of
radio.
that.
I am such a radio fan. My grandfather used to say these words, these famous words. I saw it on the radio, and I've always said, the radio. Jack Benny was funnier on the radio than he was on television.
I had to use,
use your imagination.
Theater of the mind.
Theater of the mind.
You know, my grandfather died on the Titanic.
No. He did.
Well, he could have, but he didn't. No, he would have drowned, except he was in bed with an inflatable doll.
He should have used the doll to float away.
There we go.
All right. Oh, we're getting the signal. This has been.
It's over already?
Oh my God. I know.
I'm on Amazon Prime in a fantastic 8-part murder mystery called The Better Sister. And I'm in it, and my home is in it. And I have a tiny, tiny part, but don't let that throw you. Elizabeth Banks has sex in my bedroom. Unfortunately, I was not in the room at the time. But watch The Better Sister on Amazon Prime.
Who had sex in your
Elizabeth Banks.
Oh yeah, she commented to a reporter. She was wondering why the floor was so sticky. Come on, that's funny. That's funny. Give it to me.
It would be sticky after, not before. You moron. Your comedy was imperfect. Go to jokeland.com. Please come out to a show. Me and Peter work together all the time.
Indeed. And
how far? I don't even know where we broadcast. I'm at the Parks Casino on Thursday.
Do you understand? The podcast goes all around the world.
Oh, I'm going to be in Tokyo, not soon. Someday.
I'm going to be at Pizza Hut in Hicksville. That's how my career.
I'm in Clearwater,
Larry
Florida.
Duck Dunn. Now let's end with
Clearwater, Florida, Muggs Grill. Beautiful girls and lots of nudity and free condoms.
Larry Duck Dunn is on Sirius XM, and you've been doing this for how long?
Since 1979.
This guy plays The First Wave. It's very cool. That's the name of it. It's Sirius XM 33. You have honored us with your radio presence, sir.
Peter and Jackie, thank you for having me.
Mr. Dunn, Duck, I love you. And Barbara sends her love.
Tell Bart we love Barbara.
We will see you next time.
Great.
Omnipod.
On Stand Up Memories.
Omnipod. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye.